It's official. The New York Jets have hired Aaron Glenn as the next head coach of the team, bringing the former New York Jet home back to the New York Jets to change this ship around. And what a great job done by the New York Jets and Woody Johnson to bring him in. Meanwhile, we have an update on Lance Newmark, the man who's been the favorite for the next Jets GM role, and we're going to break it all down. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Jets Digest. It's Chris and Matt here. And guys, if you guys like the content, make sure to subscribe. 80% of people are not subscribed, and if you guys are part of that group, make sure to subscribe for daily Jets updates, news, rumors, reports, fun conversations on the Jets, and a lot of good stuff coming your way. But guys, let's talk about it. Aaron Glenn is officially the next head coach of the New York Jets. It is official. As Adam Schefter tweeted out, a new coach in New York. The Jets are hiring former Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn as their next head coach. Per sources, the former Jets 1994 first-round pick who became a personnel scout for the team is now becoming their head coach. And as Rich Cimini said, I don't know if Aaron Glenn will be the head coach that saves the New York Jets, but I do know this. He's a good leader. He will hold players and coaches accountable. He won't tell them what they want to hear. He'll tell them what they need to hear. They will be coached hard. He's got some parcels in him, which is a good thing. He knows the enormity of the challenge, and yet he still wanted this job badly, like for years. The former defensive coordinator and first-time head coach thing is a pattern for the Jets, and it is a legit concern. Ultimately, success will be determined by his plan on offense and the ability to find a long-term solution at quarterback. Now, we do have a video coming out between Aaron Glenn and Aaron Rodgers, but that will be later on, either today or early tomorrow, just depending on some logistics, but you guys will get that soon. Look, Aaron Glenn is the next head coach of the New York Jets. We've known this for the last 2 days, but now it is officially official. Glenn has accepted the role. He has decided to sign with the New York Jets. He thanked the Saints for the opportunity, but as we just talked about, yes, he had that scheduled interview with the Saints tomorrow, but he never got there. The same thing happened with Robert Saleh. He had an interview with the Jets, leaves the facility without being the head coach, but before he even interviewed with the Eagles, the man became the New York Jets head coach. The Jets get their guy. Great signing, great culture builder. We know all this. Great job done by the New York Jets, Matt.
That's not something we say usually. Usually they are not doing a good job with these signings. However, this is the guy we wanted. He's got, as the report said, a little parcels in him, not parcel. Got a little parcels in him. I love that
Maybe
line
he has
about
parcels too. Maybe he has packages. You don't know that. He's got to move to New York. He's going to have packages.
probably.
He's going to order stuff on Amazon, man.
So I do really like that line about not telling the players what they want to hear and what they need to hear, because we always say it how the coach needs to be a coach. He can't be a friend. I got to bring up the story again, how South Carolina, Dawn Staley, women's basketball, she's a elite head coach, one of the greatest head coach in women's basketball history. She told one of her players, I don't care if you hate me, you're going to be the first overall pick in the draft. And that player with Dawn Staley, they butted heads for the whole year. And then she was picked first overall in the draft. So these coaches, it can't be about being friends with the players. They got to be able to help that player become the best version of himself. And that's what Aaron Glenn is going to do for this team. He's going to he's not going to care what people think of him. And he's just going to do what he knows needs to be done to be the best possible head coach for the New York Jets that he can possibly be. He knows we need a culture builder. He knows we need a team identity. And he's going to do that. That's the number one thing that he wants to do for this team. He's going to come in and impose his culture on the team. What that culture is going to look like, it's going to be hard-nosed hitting. It's going to be accountability. It's going to be not making the same mistake over and over and over again. And it's going to be next man up mentality as well, and picking up your teammates after they make a mistake, enforcing the fact that the team, it's a team. It's not just players out for themselves. It's a team. Everyone has to play for each other. And at the end of the day, the team will hopefully be led to more wins than we saw under Robert Saleh in the last couple of years here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Jets' history over the last 14 years has been downright disturbingly awful. And now they get a guy who has been a part of a culture shift already with the Detroit Lions. He now comes into the New York Jets. Dan Campbell said that this is a guy who should be an NFL head coach. Obviously, he is. The man, he's built for this. He's built to come into the New York Jets and change this ship around. It's the type of guy that you know is not going to be okay with losing. He's not okay with that situation. As you mentioned a couple videos ago, the man was on a team that won 2 games in a season. The next year they made the playoffs. Aaron Glenn knows how to turn around with the New York Jets. He knows what he's doing here. This is a coach that you could look at and be very thrilled with. When the Jets hired Robert Saleh, yes, there was excitement because the 49ers defense was good, but it was different. It wasn't like this. The energy with Aaron Glenn being hired, this is the guy that Jets fans wanted. This was the main guy. If you polled most Jets fans and said realistically, so not Ben Johnson, realistically, who do you want the New York Jets' next head coach to be? Most of them would have said Aaron Glenn. This is a guy the Jets wanted. It's a guy the Jets fans wanted. And most importantly, it's a job that Aaron Glenn wanted. He's not afraid to take this job, or he knows it could be a 3 and out if the Jets don't succeed. Aaron Glenn wanted to try to climb this hill, and to get a guy in here who multiple NFL teams wanted. This isn't, the Jets were the one team interested, and they had the last pick of everyone. No, the New Orleans Saints, they wanted Aaron Glenn. They wanted Aaron Glenn to be their next head coach. The Dallas Cowboys had interest in Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn signed with the New York Jets and barely even let us worry about if he was going to sign with the New York Jets. This is a phenomenal, phenomenal move by the team. I absolutely love this. I think anyone who's a Jets fan just should love the idea of Aaron Glenn as the next head coach of the team. Now, as Jordan Schultz mentioned, when Aaron Glenn landed back in Detroit via Woody Johnson's private jet, there was no deal, but sources said a substantial offer was made. Aaron Glenn takes the substantial offer, and it was mentioned if he wants it, the job was his, which is absolutely true, as this came out today, and today Aaron Glenn's now officially the head coach. And it ideally could include with his potential staff that Glenn's constructing, Lions quarterbacks coach Mark Brunell, if he doesn't get the offensive coordinator job in Detroit. Now, obviously, the jury's still out on that. It's not exactly clear what's going to happen, but he could be in play for the offensive coordinator role for Glenn. And Jordan Schultz is also told that Glenn wants to bring in a veteran defensive coordinator who has been an NFL head coach in the past. Glenn is still putting his offensive staff together. Former Jets special teams coach Mike Westhoff could be an option should he decide to come out of retirement. So Glenn is doing this the right way. He's getting in guys who have experience. He wants to bring some of that Lions brain trust with him. It feels like he's doing everything right. It feels like the man's he's just the best. I hope.
Yeah. What's exciting about Aaron Glenn as opposed to Robert Saleh, with Saleh, it felt like we thought he was the guy because the 49ers defense was really good, but that's kind of where the pros stopped. With Aaron Glenn, it's the person we think is the right person. It's not just the Lions defense was good, which it was phenomenal, even with injuries. It was really good. So he has that pedigree there. Looking at how he handles himself, how he leads his defense, how he talks to the players, how the players talk back to him and interact around him, that tells me that this is the right guy to have confidence in. And I can't right now, I'm in a conference room at my job, so I can't be too loud, but I'm definitely holding back how excited I am about this hiring, because this is our guy. This is someone who is proud to be a New York Jet. Finally, someone who's proud to be a New York Jet. And I cannot wait to see the way he takes his New York Jets football team.
Yeah, I mean, look, guys, if there's ever a reason to subscribe to this channel, mind you that Matt is at work right now, and he tried to go in his car so he could scream louder about this hiring. So make sure to subscribe to the channel, because how many people are going to do that? How many people are going to walk out of their job to go to their car to try to film a video on the New York Jets at 2:36 p.m. in the afternoon on a Wednesday? Me, I mean, I'm in the same bedroom that you guys see in Knicks Digest videos every time we do a live stream, because I can't stand the green screen that's behind me. But look, guys, it gets in my way. When I want to lean my head back and play video games, it gets in my way. My life is so hard, Matt. But look, the New York Jets, they hired a guy who's proud to be a New York Jet. That didn't feel like it happened with Saleh. You're right. It was the 49ers had a good defense. That was the pro. There was no other real pros. It's like, oh, he's fiery, he's hyped up. Yeah, he was excited on the sidelines, but he also was very coddly towards the players, which is not a strategy that, as you said in the beginning of this, it doesn't work. With what happens now, with the New York Jets now, they get a guy who wanted to be here, who fits on this team and who just is a perfect guy for the role. I love Aaron Glenn as a coach already. I mean, and also just to talk about where they are now with the GM stuff, because we do have to get into the GM issue of it all. With the Jets finalizing their deal with Aaron Glenn to be the head coach of the team, they also now plan to proceed with additional second interviews for their GM job. Lance Newmark was in the building with Glenn on Monday, but others do remain under consideration. So one of the reasons Glenn came here was because of Newmark. However, and it's still very possible, and I'd still say Newmark is the clear favorite to become the next GM of the New York Jets, but it's not a guarantee. And I don't think Aaron Glenn accepted this job because of who the GM might be. Aaron Glenn's not stupid. Also, the Jets probably just told him flat out, yeah, we're interviewing Newmark and we really like him. We're not guaranteeing he's going to be the GM if you take this job. I don't think the Jets would lie to Aaron Glenn's face like that. I think if the 33rd team guys weren't there, then we might see Woody Johnson lie about that. But with the 33rd team in there, I really do believe that Mike Tannenbaum and Rick Spielman are like actively preventing Woody Johnson from just being the complete buffoon that he usually is. Now, maybe that's wishful thinking, but I really do think this is a great move by the New York Jets. I'm happy they're not just looking at Newmark. I just want them to look at other guys. Be very, very thorough with your search, the way they were with the head coaching search. Yes, they hired Aaron Glenn. Yes, Glenn was the favorite from day one, but still, they talked to 15 different guys. I want them to do this with the GM search also, and I know they've talked to a bunch of people. I'm not saying they haven't, but I want them to really be thorough. Find the guy that fits. Find the guy that's going to like Aaron Glenn, which obviously Newmark does, but like he's not going to be the only guy who likes Aaron Glenn. Everyone likes Aaron Glenn. He's the best. But there's a lot of moving parts here with the GM situation. I think it's going to be Newmark still, but there's openings. And I'm curious to see who they're going to look at.
The main takeaway from that tweet from Tom Pelissero is if you were a Newmark fan, it's bad news for you because he is losing his grip on the stranglehold that he had on the New York Jets GM job of the future. By the Jets opening up second interviews to other candidates, that shows that they're not sold on Newmark. They never did that for coaches because we knew they were sold on Glenn the whole time. This tells me that Newmark may not be the GM of the team going forwards.
I do have to say very quickly, I think one of the major reasons why they're opening things up is to give Chris Spielman another interview. I have a feeling it's going to be Newmark. I'll be honest. I think it's still going to be, yes, he is definitely trending in the wrong direction. The fact that he was the first interview, the fact that they interviewed him the same day as Aaron Glenn, there's two possibilities here. One, he's the Jets' favorite candidate, but they're not fully sold on him because Newmark is not as clear-cut of a yes as Aaron Glenn absolutely is when you think about each guy in their respective role or potential role. Also, Chris Spielman's just a big part of that because of who's helping the Jets here with Rick Spielman. On top of that, there is a world. Now, Matt, you know what I say, or what we both say about what would happen when Eric behind me would be in an interview. I don't want to say it on the channel. It's funny, and I don't know. Maybe one day I'll say it, but maybe that's what happened with Newmark. Maybe he walked in there and he
made a massive mistake in the interview.
Yeah, maybe
we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll just say maybe he screwed the interview up. That's really where I'm going with this. Like, in all seriousness, there's a world where Newmark went in there and the Jets brass was like, I don't actually like this guy as much as I thought I did. Like, maybe they asked him more strategic questions, potential draft prospects. He's a positive. He's going to give a yes towards Glenn, which is a win for Newmark. But I'd imagine basically every GM would give a yes towards Aaron Glenn, so I don't think that's a big deal. I think they probably got farther in depth as second interviews for every job goes, and they probably didn't like what he had to say, is my guess. And they also want to be thorough, and they want to make sure he's the guy. They probably want to do second interviews because they weren't fully sold on what Newmark said, so they're going to turn around. I guarantee Chris Spielman's getting a second interview. I'm curious to see who else does. I think we will see a GM hire soon. I don't think they want to leave Aaron Glenn high and dry as the head coach without a GM. I just think that doesn't make a lot of sense. I already thought they should have hired a GM first, but I also did give the caveat. If it was Aaron Glenn, it's a little different, which it is Aaron Glenn. But no,
Yeah,
go ahead.
so
Sorry.
no, so
Yeah.
yeah, we everyone knows that the right way to do it is you hire the GM first and then the head coach. So it's a little bit concerning that they did it the other way around. You were saying if it's Aaron Glenn, you can make an exception. That's because after Aaron Glenn, we feel like the drop off at coach candidates drop really far. After Newmark, the GM candidates, there is not a drop off like that because there's a ton of guys who are really qualified. Let's just be completely honest here. I have no idea what makes a good GM. Like candidate. No idea. So when they're interviewing all these guys, there are a lot of guys with like a good resume, but no one has a really, really good idea of how you actually differentiate and when, because there's no way to attach like points to how well of a scouter they are, how well of a drafter they are, how well at managing the salary cap are they. You can't do that. With the GM, you got to pick a guy who's qualified and just see if it works. And maybe that's Newmark, but if it's not Newmark, do not worry. There are plenty of candidates who are just as qualified as Newmark. But when it comes to a head coach, it's a lot easier to see who's going to be a good head coach. After it's Aaron Glenn, we knew there was not going to be another candidate that was going to be as good as him. That's why we need to get him signed immediately.
Yeah, well, we'll talk more about Newmark in further videos once we see who the other candidates are for the GM. So make sure you guys are subscribed to stay tuned for that. I will leave you with this. I'm not the biggest supporter of Lance Newmark. I don't love the draft selections that were made under him, but at the same time, he was there for Jaden Daniels, so he probably would be a solid GM as well. But we'll talk about that in a further video. Guys, make sure to subscribe, like this video, turn on post notifications. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Go Jets.